Thank you, and thank you all for coming here from all parts of Sweden and also the US, for instance. I see some familiar faces here, and I'm really happy to see you again. My name is David Andersson. I'm the CEO of IBED. I'm also a molecular biologist from Lund University and bioentrepreneur from Chalmers University of Technology. And currently I'm also working with research to convert transformational technologies into society from the university. But I'm also a farm boy living in Storm, so that would be pretty evident in this presentation. So, let's see here. We're just going to dive straight into some science, and I hope that right now before coffee we will just be on the edge here to get everything. And I'm pretty sure we will do that, such an enlightened audience. So, we all know we have the carbon positive systems, we've been talking about that. And we're talking about carbon neutral systems, almost neutral, such as tidal energy, wind power, geothermal, nuclear, etc. Then there are carbon negative systems. Those are systems that actually provide an energy source whilst removing CO2 from the air. And this is the sector where we are working. And to do this, we utilize biomass, which is complete of residuals from agriculture. So this is biomass that is fast cycling. This is nothing that is being used as food, hopefully, as you can see. But this is the raw material that we use. And we use this in a complete chain that is being developed in a European Union LIFE project called BioAgro. Some people from the US, when I pronounce it very fast, they say, "Did you say Viagra?" BioAgro. Even though it's a potent technology. Sorry. Anyway, here's the different companies working in this systems, and so we use the biomass residues from agriculture to turn into a pellet formula, which we then pelletize in a facility down in South Sweden. And we use the bioash to turn it back to the soils, but we also convert the ag residues into biochar, which I will talk more about later. So this is the facility. It's being built. The European Union found it to be a pretty successful project, so they selected it as the best of all their environmental projects that they have funded. We're pretty happy about that. We are also doing export of this system right now to China, for instance, and other countries that are showing interest. So, now we're going into some of the deep challenges that we'll have and that Per has highlighted, for instance, during this day. We see here an image of a research facility in South Sweden. It's going to be built, it's going to be ready in 2019, and it's actually it's an accelerator for particles, particle accelerator, to do serious research very well-known level. And what does this have to do with sustainability? Not much, but they claim this facility to be a truly green unit. However, there are always challenges when building systems like these. This specific facility has to become the greenest research facility in the world, they claim. So, I was down to present some of our solutions to them, and we were discussing what about soil ecosystem services, for instance. Today is, by the way, Earth Overshoot Day. So every day after this day up until New Year's Eve will be days when we run on a load, so to say. So apart from that is the fact that we use ecosystem services too much. We deplete them. And this facility here is something that will deplete ecosystem services and will also have a carbon footprint, no matter what they have as energy efficiency schemes or anything. It will always have a carbon footprint. And it will also use prime farmland for its build-up. So, how can we address these problems? Well, we have a platform that is one part of the solution. It's a platform where we use a carbon capture system based on photosynthesis and carbon storage. So first we have, now we're going deep into the science here, so stay awake. First we have the CO2 being captured by photosynthesis. This carbon is being stored in the form of crop residues, and these are the ones that we are then turning into pellets. Usually, if you burn these pellets, you will emit CO2 up in the air again, and that is the carbon neutrality of these systems. However, we are using pyrolysis instead, which conserves some of the carbon. It releases energy up until about 80% of the energy content. However, we get a fraction which we use as a soil amendment that we store in agricultural soils. And this image comes from actually our first trial in 2009. It was back home at my home farm. Actually, we used it as a guinea pig for these trials. And we then geotagged the area so that we know exactly how much and where we store the carbon away from the atmosphere. Because the good thing with this carbon form is that it's biologically stable, which means that it can be sequestered within the soil for about thousands of years. So, in this way, there is a possibility to actually have a net removal of CO2 from the air, whilst generating an energy source and also a great soil amendment for the soil. And some very forward-looking companies, such as the Biobusiness Alliance in Minnesota, our home team here as well, they have been forward-looking enough to use this system as a climate compensation, a carbon offset system, which we are really happy to be part of helping with. So, here's the facility here. So, if the facility actually has a carbon footprint and it takes soil ecosystem services into account, or depletes them, there is a way of countering both those effects by actually sequestering the carbon from the air in this solid form called biochar, and then actually sequester it into the soils. So by that you have a possibility to also increase the soil fertility that is lost from the build-up of the system. So there is actually a piece of eco-aero biochar that you could send around. You could actually eat it if you like. It's it is mainly carbon. So, one more thing. What happens when you put this in the soil then? Well, it not only sequesters carbon, it actually serves as a dynamic sponge to keep nutrients and water into the soil. And we made some nice trials, actually, that this year, for instance, we used tomato plants. Here's one, actually without any biochar, only nutrients. And here's his friend with biochar and nutrients. And we had a third-party expert. So it was a, what do you call it, plant school in English? It was a, well, greenhouse provider. And they were doing the actual monitoring of the tomatoes. And this fellow here, to the left, he didn't have the time to actually get stabilized up, so he was growing like a fast-growing teenager, but he actually could be better put. However, why is this? It's the fact that the carbon in the soil it increases the amount of nutrients that can be stored in the soil and not leach out of the soils into rivers and seas, for instance. It has the potential of keeping phosphorus in the soil, which is it's an element that will be, or possibly have already been a peak element globally. And we have also been partnering with the Swedish Agricultural University for them to conduct some studies on the char. They have seen that it has a superior ammonium retention and can keep nitrogen available for plants in a much easier way. So here's also other results of our trials. We had a doubling almost of the fruit yield from the tomato plants. And here's the nice things. It's the large-scale trials that we've been doing here in Sweden. We have been doing this in collaboration with the Swedish Agricultural Society. And this is their, the middle picture there is their mini harvester where they do the measurements of how much the yield was increasing from the soil. They found that they had a 33% increase when we increased the biochar amount from 1 kilo to 3 kilos per square meter. And then again, the char actually has, the carbon in the char has a stability that doesn't go up into the air again. It serves as a parking lot for the carbon from the atmosphere. So, this is actually a way of creating a more fair carbon tax in a way. Imagine if farmers got paid for this way removing CO2 and at the same time increasing their yields from the agriculture. Then there would be no further need for subsidies perhaps, and the carbon tax would actually be fair. If someone removing the CO2 from the air would actually get paid. Someone polluting or emitting carbon dioxide would have to pay. So this is something I also work with politically with the Environment and Climate Authority in the city of Gothenburg. So here's also more studies from here in Sweden. It's a pretty neat experiment with a cross-section of the soil, and we could also show how the water holding capacity increased. So there you have to the right, it's sampled without biochar added, and the other one is still being fresh, and then the water was held into the soil. This has not much to do with Sweden at the moment because we had so much rain this summer, so no more, please. But in developing countries where they have drought problems, or, well, Texas as well, could have this as one of those solutions. Here's also a more telling image. It's from our current soil, from our current corn crop trials, and we've seen a preliminary indication of 27% increase in stem width, which has a correspondence to the actual harvest itself. And here is the great Mohammed Nasheed from the Maldives. He was at the COP15 climate conference in Copenhagen. They made a pretty good PR stunt by signing an agreement down under the sea level. But they are actually becoming carbon neutral, truly carbon neutral, by using energy efficiency, renewable energy sources, but they will also use biochar as a carbon sequestration agent. Here's also one other, it's the American Per Holmgren. He's one of also the advocates for the case for biochar. He's also well, some say it's controversial, but I think it's pretty easy guy. So these are all the win-wins for a system based on biochar. You get a actually waste management system where you can reduce the waste from agriculture using a more positive way. Currently, the waste from agriculture, when it's got to landfill, emits 230 kilos of carbon dioxide equivalent per ton of biomass, which you can get rid of by converting it to pellets and then pyrolysis into biochar, where you also get the energy out of the biomass, whilst removing CO2 from the air and also creating better soil structure so you can grow more on each area of land. So, this is what biochar does, and this is what EcoAir does. So I would like to thank you for listening, and let's discuss more during the coffee, for instance. So thank you very much.